Alright, so it's 2025 and voice AI moved very quickly from the last time I uploaded. Everything's really real like advanced now. I have sort of grown with it, right? I've become quite a good builder. So today I'm going to show you how to build a outbound agent for the real estate industry, alright? So in particular follow-up specialist. So picture this, you're a real estate company and you've got some leads that you're not really reaching out to. Let's say you reached out to them before and they weren't a good fit, so you put them at follow up. Like you would reach out to them later, maybe they weren't a good fit, short nurture, long nurture type things that you might not reach out to. Alright, so these are idle leads. We are going to build this sort of thing that will reach out to them and just talk to them, verify their name. Let's actually go through the call flow. So you can start the call and we're going to verify their name. All right, so quick spoiler, we're going to be using this sort of three sort of data structures. So the pre-call, before we even send the call, we're going to give the Bland this information, so the user's name and the address, right? That's because we're going to verify, every call is going to be specialized to each person. So we're going to verify their name in particular, and we're going to be like, hey, is this like John at 123 Baker Street? All right, so that's what we need, the name and address. So they say yeah, and then we're going to try and ask them if they are still looking to sell. So let's say yes, right? So that's what this is sort of the main flow, right? Yes. And then we're going to go ahead and qualify them, okay? So we're going to be like, a lead is qualified if the ballpark price for their house they gave is less than the market price, and we can give them the API. But I put 2 here, so it can be like much less, or like, let's say people want it to be more less than like 120% of the market price to get some sort of margin they like. Let's just say for now just less than the market price, so you can take advantage of the arbitrage, buy the property, sell it for higher. So that's what we consider qualified, right? So yeah, let's say they're qualified. We're gonna try and transfer them to the follow-up specialist or like your core team, right? And let's see if it works. It works, the call ends, they get transferred. It doesn't work, we're gonna make another API call to our sort of calendar to get what times we are free for, to give them an appointment. We're going to talk to them about that. They'll give us the time, confirm it, and then the call ends and we get an appointment set in your calendar. All right, so real cool stuff going on here. The other pathways, let's say they're not looking to sell or they've sold already or something. We're gonna ask them how many friends looking to sell. We're gonna talk about the sort of incentive of like 2,000 referral bonus if the sale goes through. Yes, no, yes. We're gonna get the information and stuff, and then like, let's say they are looking to sell, but let's say the ballpark price is still too high. It's gonna set them as follow up later. End call. So that's sort of that call flow, right? Classic call flow. There's a lot more stuff you can do. I built a few of these for some clients. There's a lot of steps, like what I've done before is we capture their motivation, and then we do it again down the line where we've got more trust with the user, capture their timeline, and we've got like some sort of boolean that says yes or no if it's less than 60 days, some stuff like that. But for now, this is what we're doing, right? Real basic stuff, right? Let's talk about the data. As I mentioned before, the pre-call is going to have the user's name and the user's address, right? So we can use that during the call. And then during the call, this is the API calls during the call. So we're going to use data, right? So during the call, we can, let's say they're qualified, but they don't want to talk to us right now. That they want to get transferred. We're going to set up an appointment with them. So we're going to need to check our calendar's date then and now, not like before the call, not after the call. We need to see what free times are free for them right now. Because remember, this is not just one call at a time. We can send like hundreds or thousands of these at once. So we want to keep. This is the sort of thing we want to check then and now, right? So we're going to check the calendar's free time and return it back, and then the user's address, market price. And this is quite interesting. So we're going to make an API call during the call to get the market price, but there's some sort of special middleware going on. I'll explain it later. But yeah, essentially that. And then after the meeting, we can set the meetings. We can set the actual meeting they want, the appointment, and then we could send some notes to your CRM, because this will be useful. Because let's say it's transferred to the follow-up specialist. They can use all that notes to help catch up to speed of who they're talking to and stuff. So it's really cool. So before we even go into the plan, we're going to talk about the pre-call data. So we're going to I'm using my CRM. I'm using today's Podio. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get information that we need during the call, and we're going to and to start the call, right? So we're going to the sort of lead status. So you can refer to that if you want. It's not important. The email. It's important to verify that with them. This is sort of the structure I use for another client, so I just using this here. But the encoder, this is very important because I'll explain it later. But we're going to take the address and want to encode it in some sort of way, because that's what the API call accepts. Alright, it sounds complicated, it's really not. I'll explain it to you in a minute. phone number logic, just getting a phone number from the Podio or like the CRM, so we can actually call them. This address, send that through, and leave the URL. All right. So there's something going on here where we need to send it as a JSON object, which is like a sort of format. Let me just dive in a bit deeper about this, right? So let me show you the sort of API call we're making. I'm using the make a request module because there exists like a Bland module here, and it's like it's so bad. It doesn't have everything, and the parameters aren't even there, right? So I'd recommend doing it like this. Okay, so I'm gonna blur out my stuff, right? But you see the URL, the method. You need these headers. I'll explain everything, right? So this is what we need to be when you're setting an outbound call, right? So just copy this sort of structure. You need this URL. Mine was batches. I'm sending more than one call at once, but the batches use the same headers and like parameters as this, so that's fine, right? Your content type, application JSON, authorization. You put your key from Bland. You get that in the settings, by the way. This is sort of your bread and butter. This is sort of your beating heart of your operation, right? You want to set all of these, or not all of them, which ones most of them are good though, which ones you deem necessary. The most important one I'll tell you right now is this one called metadata. Let's go find that real quick. I'll explain it quickly, why it's important before we get into the Bland. This is a sort of collection, not an object, so it's going to have, it's what we send through the call, but doesn't really get like, it doesn't get used, but you need it after the call. So the call ends and you can see all the confirmation, and then you can see the metadata still. Now you might ask, why is that useful? So I will send through normally the lead source URL. So that's the URL for their profile on the CRM, and the ID for the CRM, right? Now I send that through because I need to track them. So if I want to make changes to the CRM, that ID will be there next to their call data, so I can use that to adjust the data on the CRM. So that's why that's in metadata. So that's what you can see, like in the example here, has the campaign ID and stuff as well. So sort of very important, right? But anyways, let's go into Bland. So let's say we sent off that call we just saw in make.com, right? And had all those variables. So then we're going to start in this sort of call flow. We're going to start with this. By the way, before I even dive into this, I'm going to go over this quite like not in too much detail, but this is all for you, right? It'll be in the description how to access this. You don't have to like build this yourself. You can just add on to this, anyways. So start the call. Let me dive into this and be like, hey, this is Nat from Prosper Homes. Is his first name at street? So let me just talk about this a bit, right? So see how this is highlighted in blue, right? So this is sort of the variable I'm talking about. So you can define that in the pre-call sort of make automation and pass it through. So you take that from the CRM, bring that here, and it'll actually refer to them by their first name. So first one is just like, hey, there's like John, for example, at street. Now you're gonna be asking, why is this not the same curly brackets as this? This is a sort of technique I like to use where I'm sort of remixing a variable. So the address that I'm gonna use is quite long. I'm gonna be using this one as sort of example, this sort of address right here. And you wouldn't say, hey, is this John from 8009 Doslink, and you know, that whole thing. I've defined this sort of variable here because Bland's quite smart, as a sort of conversational version of the full address. So it's going to be like maybe just the first bit, you know, 8009 Doslane, right? Sounds a bit better. So that's what I would use. Going to say that. It's going to say this whole sentence, and then we're going to have this sort of branching already. So if it's incorrect homeowner, let's say they're new homeowners or like they've left or something, just to end the call, this is not they're not the target. But if they are the correct homeowner, we can actually start. So are they still selling their property? So let's say you're buying houses, or so let's ask them if they're still selling their property. Let's say, yeah, we are still interested. Then we're going to ask them their ballpark price. Now, in practice, you can have much more stuff in between this, you know, some cool qualifying stuff, but this is just like a bare bones thing, right? So anyways, we're going to ask them their ballpark price. Now, we're asking the ballpark price. We've got some loop conditions going on here, so we're not going to go forward without the ballpark price, right? Because it's very important. We're going to store this as a variable as well, ballpark price, right? And that's important for later. And then we're going to go to this sort of in-call API call, right? So we're going to be using the Zillow estimate. So we're going to get an estimate of the house price, the real market price. So you can choose any API call you want. So just forget the market price. I'll show you like an example of this before we actually call it as well, so you can see everything moving. But we're going to get the real market price, and then we're going to compare the ballpark price they gave and the real market price down here, okay? So got some logic going on. This is just like a placeholder, don't worry about that. So if the estimate, which is their market price, is less than their sort of asking price, so they've given us a real like they're giving us a house price which is way above market price, we're gonna be like setting follow up. Sorry, you're not a good fit for us right now, right? But you may be asking why is there this thing as well? So you can have all the estimate is not even there, right? So stick with me here, but there's sort of depending on what industry you make this for, is the importance of false positives, right? So for example, the best way to do this is with an example. So say we've got the sort of healthcare industry, you don't want to false positives, right? So you don't want to pass somebody along to a doctor who doesn't need to because it wastes time and stuff, right? So you wouldn't sort of have this here, but here I have it here because real estate is not that deep, right? So estimate 2 is no, is also a condition to go forward, just because let's say the API call fails, right? And that means if the API call failed, neither one of these will be accepted, so it's going to be looping here, not very good. So if it failed, let's just end the call, right? Anyways, back to the main conversation flow. Let's say they are qualified, right? They've decided that this estimate, they have a ballpark price which is much less than this estimate, right? We're going to go ahead and try and transfer them. So we're going to ask them if they want to be transferred. Let's say yes, and then we're just going to transfer them, right? It's real easy. Just use a transfer node, connect it, add the phone number here, something you want to say. Make sure you put it in the international formats, pluses, so like UK would be +44 and then your number without 0, and then the US would be +1 and then the area code. So just like look that up to ChatGPT or whatever, Perplexity or whatever. And then let's say no, and then we're gonna say alright, what time we're gonna schedule an appointment for you, let us know what time that works best. I'm gonna store that, alright, so there's a lot of stuff about going on under the hood, so you just don't worry about it, just to make sure we don't loop, right? So you're going to capture the meeting time, we're going to go send that back to make. This will check an hour slot in the appointment time they give us and see if there's anything there. If there is nothing there, we'll tell them, yeah, booked already, everything's good. If not, we're going to loop right back there and ask for another time, right? So let me just show you that make automation quickly. Alright, so we're here on make. Alright, so we're here on make, and this is essentially real simple. So this is going to get pinged during the call. We're going to go take that time, take it as a JSON if it's in the JSON object. We've got both of these here just in case. So if it sometimes it's a JSON, sometimes it isn't, because I'm testing this using Postman. Just like this just keeps everything safe, but if one fails, this goes forward anyway. So at least one of these will work. So essentially what these do is just gets the meeting time. Alright. And then just stores it, right? So it stores the meeting time that was set in the call. Don't worry about this. This is because I'm in the UK and the call is in San Fran time, so that's why I did -5. And but then we're going to use this API call here that will check the time. So the time that was said, right? And I had to format it to be just what Outlook expects, and then +1 hour. So an hour slot uses anything in that slot. You may be wondering why I'm doing an API call here instead of like a classic make module. That's because Outlook check for busy times is kind of stupid, right? It's not really. Their filters it's stupid because we have this sort of filter where you can check for busy times, right? But the filters are like, you can filter by creation time instead of like actual meeting time, which doesn't make any sense. So this is like a direct way of doing it to check by this is sort of create your own filter. So I'm filtering by time, right? Actual meeting time. So yeah, so that's that. And then let's say there is no events in that hour slot. I'm gonna check this, so it does not exist, no event. And then we're just gonna send the JSON object that says none, right? And if there is an event, we're just gonna send the busy times as we're gonna send the busy times in JSON time, right? So we can give that to Bland and you will understand that these are the busy times, suggest a time that's not in here, right? So it's just like real smart stuff, a lot of stuff going on under the hood, not too complicated, but yeah. And then after the call, we can do something real simple like this. I have many examples that should real spiraling make automation, but in this case, real simple. Call ends. You can be like, let's say the lead status is meeting, so I'll set that if the meeting gets set, and then we set the event with the meeting time that was set in the call. So this is post call, right? So a meeting time here, and then an hour slot, so we're going to add another hour, right? And then we can update the coding information. Let me just show you how that looks like, then I'll show you like a sample call. by text and a sample call by audio, right? So this is sort of why it's important. This is an example I did a few months back, but it's this sort of same sort of thing. It's gonna store all the things that were said, but you have to like define it. So you've got all the stuff that follow-up specialists can look at when they get this guy transferred to them, right? So if some guy gets transferred to them, they quickly can glance through this. All right, so the ballpark price is 80K and the market price is like 100K. All right, so that's what I'm working with. So you can see how this is sort of very useful, right? Alright, let's go ahead and test this pathway via text first, alright? So I know we have it set up in Make already to like work with the CRM, but if I click start on that, it's gonna call a real person. Let's just do this sort of testing in here for now. So we're gonna set the first name here, the address as this, we're gonna click test pathway. Hey, this is John, yep. Are you still considering selling your home? Yes, I am. Please tell me the ballpark price for your house. You can always make this. I'm telling you, it doesn't sound very conversational, but I just made it quickly. You would make this so much better. But let's just say, between 100 and 130. No, I'll tell you what I'm doing this in a minute. Yep. Okay. All right. See, a lot's happening right now. We're gonna go through this step by step. All right. So first of all, I've gone ahead and made this ballpark variable, like this ballpark node, very sophisticated. So like, it will consider values under 1,000 as multiples of 1,000. So for example, it says between 100 and 130. So it considers it 100,000 and 130,000. And also, I want to give it a range. I've chosen it to be to take the lower bound, but you can sort of do whatever you want and set upper bound. It's probably better to do upper bound rather than saying out loud, right? So as you see, it stores at 100K. So you can see on the right, we're going to get this as the estimated house price. And then we've got this sort of estimate too. Now I mentioned at the beginning that some people like to upmark or like push up the price of what they consider like to get a good like range of money, right? So I put estimate 2, which is like a 20% increase up from here around the 20% increase. So if it's higher than, I said if the ballpark price is less than this, we've got good, right? So we're going to compare to this price. This is 20% increase in the market price. Okay, this is sort of what people ask, but I think it makes more sense to be less than 20%, so you get a bigger sort of range, but whatever. So we're going to compare this estimate here to the ballpark price in this sort of logic, and you can see, yeah, it does. They are qualified, so you can go to transfer. So you can be like, great, sounds like a good range for a product. The price you provided. It sounds like a good fit. I would like to pass it on to the acquisition team. Yeah, a bit wordy, but you can change that if you want. If I say yes, it's gonna just end the call, right? Pretend to be transferred because I don't have the transfer thing set up. Let's just say no, I'm a bit busy. Mate, yeah, keep it happy for a bit. Alright, no worries at all. Can you tell me when you're free? Yeah, I did go ahead and change something to accept it a bit better. So let's just say the appointment, let's say next Wednesday at 12ish, I guess. It's gonna confirm that with us, yep. And then it's gonna go ahead and that's sort of the cool flow going on. Let's go ahead and see how it sounds, alright? So I'm just gonna push everything to production. Let's go ahead and give it a call. I'll make sure everything's good when I give it off to you guys. But let's give it a call and see how it sounds. So,
hey, this is Nat from Prosper Homes. Is this John at 8009 Doss Lane, San Angelo, Texas 76901?
Yep.
Hello again. I wanted to follow up on your previous inquiry about selling your property. Are you still considering selling your home?
Yeah.
Could you please tell me your ballpark price for your house?
I'd say around between 80 to 90.
Just to confirm, you said between $80,000 and $90,000. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, give me a sec. Great. It sounds like we're in a good range for our services. I'd like to pass you along to our acquisitions team, who can further discuss the details and answer any questions you may have. They'll be able to provide you with more information and guide you through the next steps. Would that be okay with you?
Sounds good.
I'm going to go ahead and transfer you to our acquisitions team.
And yeah, so it's a bit laggy because I'm calling over the internet instead of actual call line. But you can see how it sounds, everything's good. The meeting will be set in my calendar and everything gets sort of updated. So real basic example for today. I'm gonna play before I send this to you guys, I'm gonna play around with this to make sure it works a bit better. And yeah, alright. See you next time.